podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
This is the big one. This is what the whole season has been building towards. Crystal Palace tomorrow. No, but seriously, we're recording this before the Palace game, but that game doesn't really have much of a bearing on anything unless something really dramatic happens. So this is the only time we could do a preview to get it out within reasonable time before the show.
So we've got to talk about how United are going to have to cope in the Europa League final without Paul Pogba, because, of course, he played against Palace and got injured.
I don't think you should even say it. I don't think you should even say it, Ed. I was thinking that as we speak, I was thinking how many times we're going to mention Pogba today, and he's definitely going to play against Palace apparently. So, but anyway, everyone that's listening to this knows what happened in that game anyway. So first off, Ed, I was listening back to the show that we recorded the other day, and in it you say if any listeners fancy coming forward with a spare ticket. And that indeed happened. So follow, because Ed's going to Stockholm.
Looking forward to it. I mean, I didn't enjoy the really eye-watering amount of money it costs to go. I've been to Stockholm before. Absolutely beautiful city. Really enjoy Stockholm. Frighteningly expensive for anyone who's going. It's going to cost you between £10 and £15 for a beer. Something like that. Other entertainment in increments above that. And I don't know what kind of entertainment you might be looking for, but any of that. Expensive. Eating, expensive. Good ogling if you're into that kind of thing. Men, women.
You mentioned that last week. That's 2 weeks in a row that you've talked about that.
Well, I mean, just strikes me, beautiful people. Beautiful city, a lot of beautiful people. It's going to be great. Hotels, frighteningly expensive. Planes, just mind-boggling. I was just chatting to someone on Twitter today who said he was driving. We joked about that on the Rantcast WhatsApp, didn't we? I mean, it was a hell of a long way to drive, but got to say, don't blame the chap.
Yeah, I looked up how long it would take me, and the answer was 22 hours. I thought, no, I'm not doing it. Haven't got it in me this week. I'm excited for you, though. I'm really happy that the Rantcast is represented in Stockholm. But mostly I'm happy for you because you've got, there's a lot of European finals that you've not been able to go to, having gone to so many United games over the years. So it's a pretty big deal, isn't it? Even if it is football detention final instead of the proper one.
Yeah, it is League Two of European competition. But yeah, no, it's going to be a great occasion. I just really, really hope, both in terms of the tactics for the game, and we'll hear from Michiel later about Ajax and what they're good at and what they're vulnerable to. Both the tactics, United's approach, and the spectacle that this is United that comes out and plays.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen that much recently, have to say. So if it's the United over the last few weeks, admittedly, this is Jose just giving up on the season, at least the league season. This is a team that's now going to just have to turn it around. All of that sort of negativity of the last few games is going to have to be forgotten. I really hope they come out and play. Because if they do, it's going to be a great game. So
let's jump straight into what we think. We'll go with what we think and what we would like the starting 11s to be.
Okay. So I think it's De Gea in goal. No.
When you say you think it's De Gea in goal, presumably you mean you would like it to be De Gea in goal.
Well, apparently he's not fit, so his next game will be LA Galaxy in Los Angeles in pre-season, so says Jose Mourinho. But I looked it up and Real Madrid aren't playing LA Galaxy this summer, so he's got that one totally wrong.
So maybe we've seen the last of the beautiful llama in a United kit. I mean, he looked pretty fit against Arsenal and Spurs, didn't he? He was in banging form in both of those games.
I did wonder whether it was a tactical injury, I have to say. makes all that commentary. This is cynical, but all that commentary that we had about whether it made sense to play Romero. £100 million final. This for United, given the tickets, broadcast revenue, the fine that Adidas will impose, and so on and so on and so on. Whether it made any sense to go in with a lesser player. But, no, it's going to have to be now, so no pressure on Jose for that one. Romero in goal. Valencia at right back, but I guess we can both agree on that one. I think the back four there's only one decision, isn't there? Because it's going to be Blint and Darmian, and then it's Smalling or Jones for the other one, right?
I think back four wise, Valencia, Blint, Jones, Darmian. That's what I think is most likely. I think what I would want, I'd want a different left back, but I don't suppose there's any real chance that we could get one. I think given who's available, that's probably about the ideal back four. I mean, I don't mean ideal.
Would you risk moving Blint to left back so we have a bit more of an attacking outlet and playing Jones and Smalling? It's Tweedledum and Tweedledee in there. Do they cause more damage as a pair, or do they know each other's game enough for that to be okay?
I don't know. I just think Smalling's in such shocking form. And really, Darmian's done a pretty decent defensive job recently at left back, albeit he offers absolutely nothing whatsoever in the opposition half at the moment. But, as you said right at the beginning of the season, Mourinho wants one fullback to go and the other one not to go. And the way that works is Valencia always goes, so the other one not going is kind of less of a problem, albeit it makes us very lopsided. Right from the beginning, you can see a kind of structural problem with the team when you think about where Valencia's average position on the pitch will be versus Darmian's.
Yeah, and the other challenge for Valencia, of course, is he's going to be up against Kluivert, probably, who tends to play off the left-hand side for Ajax, and that might push him back a little bit, depending on how much ball Ajax gets. It's it's an interesting balance. Valencia's definitely going to play. The Players' Player of the Year.
Oh yes,
yeah. We haven't really talked about this, have we? Well deserved. There's maybe three players who you could say it was well deserved of, but he's definitely one of them. Probably United's most consistent player this season.
Yeah,
he hasn't put in any bad performances, and given that at least I didn't really believe he was a proper right back at the start of the season, he's definitely proven me wrong, hasn't he? He's now amongst the finest right backs in the country.
Absolutely, I voted for him for Fans Player of the Year as well. That was when I cast my vote, but that was won by Ander Herrera, which of course is delightful, and it's sort of wonderful that a player who's so beloved by the fans and so kind of embodies the spirit of a fan playing gets that award. I don't know whether his performances have been consistent enough across the season to justify that, but he's certainly grown into the season and he's done pretty much everything Mourinho's asked of him. I thought it was interesting that so there were a tiny handful of votes. It was double digits difference between Valencia and Herrera for most of the day on the final day, and Herrera pulled away towards the end of the day. But I thought that the fact that it was so close between the two of them was really interesting, because I'd kind of thought that Zlatan would get a big, hefty chunk of votes, but he wasn't. He got some votes, but he wasn't in the running for it.
No, and that's probably partly because people have forgotten him. He's been out of the team for a month. And it really is true. That's how people's brains work. Plenty of research on that one. And partly that. And partly, honestly, his performances haven't been that good for most of the season. He scored tons and tons of goals and some brilliant goals. And it's been vital to United. And it's not as if United have suddenly started scoring tons of goals after he went to, prove that it was somehow, just Zlatan missing chances that was holding the club back, and he's missed a lot of chances this season. So, you can't. There's nothing negative to say about Zlatan. It's just his performances weren't that great, and I'm sure the fans sort of spotted that.
I can't find anything on David De Gea being injured, by the way, at the moment. Mourinho said that Mourinho just basically announced that he was going to play Romero and Pereira in the last couple of games, but he didn't say De Gea was out. It was more like that was it. He was just dropped for Romero kind of thing for the final.
Right, right. Maybe that's me putting two and two together. He was vigorously rubbing his groin against Spurs.
So maybe the reporting isn't clear about that too. But yeah, so in terms of the player of the year, goal of the season won by Mkhitaryan for the scorpion kick. I don't think there's too many arguments here about that one. A kind of beautiful moment. One of the most incredible things I've ever seen live at a football match, I have to say. Yeah.
Stunning goal. Of course, I'm surprised the Arsenal fans didn't get on. No, love a poll, don't they? They didn't get on and vote for Giroud for United Goal of the Year or something.
And then reserve player of the year, Axel Tuanzebe. Yeah. Apparently a reserve watchers. I mean, obviously he's kind of around the fringes of the first team squad, so we know him from that, but he's been brilliant in the reserves as well, apparently.
Right.
So that's nice. And Angel Gomez, who we talked about with Nick back on a good few months ago on the show now, and he's just an electric talent, and I think he's going to be on the bench.
Yeah, his hat-trick against Palace was excellent, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of exciting.
There's been plenty of players over the years who I've thought, youth players I've thought are too good to fail. Ravel Morrison being the ultimate example of outrageous talent who just hasn't made it. Hopefully this kid's got his head screwed on. Apparently he does. He captains the England under-17 side. Obviously not this tournament. They're doing very well because he had an injury, so didn't go. That's to his benefit from a club point of view because he'll probably make his debut against Palace, or probably did.
Yeah, and it was really interesting to see Axel Tuanzebe's interview with Mark Chapman, who did an excellent job hosting the awards, much better than Jim Rosenthal. Only one shush from Mark Chapman as opposed to 3 solid hours of a man shushing a crowd. Tuanzebe's interview was incredible. He's so assured. It's absolutely remarkable. For a man of his young years, there's no nerves whatsoever. There's just a kind of steely self-confidence which could end up serving him really well. You kind of think that personality type is an awfully good match for Mourinho. Mourinho is going to see a lot of steel in that young man, I suspect.
Yeah, agree. I mean, look, they coach the kids in terms of like media and stuff very well, but he did seem very, very confident, reflects in his performances on the pitch. He's done very well coming into the team in recent weeks, hasn't he? Had a decent game in midfield. I thought he was... it was pretty unfair on him to be asked to do a man-marking job on Eriksen. He didn't do that bit particularly well, but I thought his general defensive play and when he was on the ball was very good against Spurs. He was great at right back the week before, and I think he's got a very good future ahead of him. Yeah,
absolutely. So if we assume that's going to be the back four, I mean, would if you were in charge, would you pick Smalling and Jones in this one and play Blind at left back? Do you think?
I would do it if I believed that attack was the best form of defence, and I generally do with this United team. They have got some very good, Traore, Dolberg, Kluivert when he plays, some very good attacking players, so maybe you don't want to sort of snowflakes at the back there, but Blind's got the propensity to do that too, hasn't he? Have a real stinker of a game. So, and then Jones, you're never quite sure what you're going to get from him.
He's not. He doesn't. I don't know.
He had a decent game against Spurs,
I feel like his mistakes are really overblown because he's got a weird face.
Yeah, and I think that's probably right. And he's always been a massive talent. And he hasn't progressed really. I don't think he's better now than he was when he was 18, honestly, because of his injury problems.
Yeah, as we discussed at some length last week.
Yeah.
So midfield, I'm going to guess that you would go 4-2-3-1 here and just play Herrera and Pogba. But I think we would both be very confident Mourinho's going to play Fellaini, Herrera, Pogba.
He certainly will. Now, I actually think, hashtag agenda aside, given how confident Ajax look on the ball,
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right thing to do. Just genuinely don't think it's right to play Fellaini in there. United, every single time, struggle to keep control of the ball when Fellaini plays in midfield. Every single time. And it doesn't matter if he sneaks forward and heads a goal in, a non-jumping header, or even does a few things that people think is okay. He is not able to, A, retain possession well enough, right? And even when he gets decent stats, and he does sometimes, move it quick enough. So I just think it has such a negative effect on United's passing game. I just definitely wouldn't do it. And given that the best form of defence is definitely attack against this Ajax side, extremely vulnerable, especially when the high block is in place. I would play Herrera, Pogba, and one behind Mkhitaryan or Mata, or even Lingard. As a sort of attacking defensive player, in the old Park Ji-sung format, and allows you to play, both Mata and Mkhitaryan wide. I'm going to assume Martial's on the bench. I've given away my side here, haven't I? But, I think tactically it's just the right thing to do. I don't expect it. I expect it to be Fellaini, Herrera and Pogba ahead of them.
Yeah. Before we get onto the strikers, you mentioned Ajax being vulnerable to that high press. I had a brilliant chat earlier today with Michiel Jongsma, who you can find on Twitter at Jongsma, one of the better Twitter accounts. He's a Dutch football journalist covering the entirety of Dutch football, and as you will hear at the end, an FC Groningen fan. But he's obviously watched a lot of Ajax this season, so I had a chat with him, and this is it. So I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by an authentic Dutch football expert, Michiel Jongsma. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. The first and main reason, obviously, that we wanted to get you on the show this week is just so that we could have a bit of an informed conversation about Ajax, because I've heard good things, but I haven't seen them in action very often. What have you made of them this season? Are they building something special there?
Yeah, I think they definitely are. And by the way, a pleasure to be on your show, Paul.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is something special, and it's something that Ajax have been able to do for a few years, actually, even though this team is really, really brand new in a lot of ways. But they, by just maintaining that slight arrogance that they're well known for, especially inside the Netherlands, they've managed to just convince players to stay for another few seasons instead of going for the big bucks, and that kind of bodes well for them moving forward. But when you look at this season, they have chosen a manager in Peter Bosz who was a controversial choice. It's basically getting a former Liverpool captain and technical director in as your head coach at Manchester United, which I don't think you can even imagine happening. But he more than a lot of former Ajax managers has been able to install the typical Ajax way of playing football, and they've been thrilling to watch. They have been a bit inconsistent from time to time, and I think you can kind of see that in their Europa League run as well, where they just completely blew Olympique Lyon away, who are a good side, but then almost just threw it away in the away leg. And that is the funny thing with this Ajax team. When you look at the game with Manchester United, you're kind of wondering which team will show up.
Yeah, I was obviously watching the other semi-finals that were happening while those games were happening and just getting updates on those games. Did they try and set up super defensively in the second leg to protect that lead and it just didn't work because it didn't play to their strengths, or did they just have a really bad day?
Well, for both games, kind of the same goes, because the other game where they almost threw it away was the Schalke away game.
Right.
In both games, they were in full control for about 40 to 50 minutes. And just one lapse of concentration made them give away 2 goals within 3 minutes in both of the games, which is just remarkable. But yeah, they won't just set up defensively. They just like to play their own type of game, and they're very confident of being able to execute that. And it is really admirable, but sometimes a bit stupid as well. with against Olympique Lyon, having a man sent off, still trying to get a goal, even though they knew they would just be fine if it stayed 3-1. And you actually saw their centre back Davinson Sanchez get into the opposition box in the 89th minute of the game, and you're like, what the hell are you doing there? That's not really what you're supposed to do at this moment. And you have that like playfulness in the side. And I think the one thing that really bodes well for them is that they haven't been outclassed this season, maybe apart from the game against FC Rostov in the beginning of the season, but that was more naivety and a side still trying to gel more than anything. But in general, they have been more than up for it in almost all of their games.
When their current manager took over, was there a lot of kickback against that idea? Were there lots of people saying this is outrageous? You should never hire a man with this kind of background.
Yeah, there was. For me and my good friend and journalist Peter McVitie, it was like a match made in heaven. We felt like, oh, this is the type of manager that you want at a club like that. Mm-hmm. He actually, when he was at Heracles Almelo, which is a mid-table side, but used to be battling relegation a few years ago, when he took over there, he started playing 3-4-3. Which was just completely ridiculous. And they scored the 5th most goals in the league, and they conceded the most almost, which is just really entertaining. And because of that, like stylistically, it did feel like a good fit. But for a lot of Ajax fans, it was like the most awful thing to ever happen. And you had a lot of people saying, well, I'll just cancel my season ticket. And with that man in charge, I'll never set foot in the stadium again. Quite harsh words, and he had a really tough start because he was knocked out of the Champions League qualifiers, then lost and drew 2 games at home against poor sides, and you could tell that a lot of media were just trying to get rid of him as fast as they could, especially the Telegraaf, which is the biggest newspaper in the country, but is very Ajax focused and Ajax minded. They were just really keen to get him out, and even till this day, some media are refusing to give him the acknowledgement he deserves because of that link with Feyenoord. And it is a bit weird how these things work, but in British media, there's plenty of that as well. So it's not really that uncommon, I guess.
No, it's not. Although I think the British media, for all its many faults, of which it's basically just made up of its many faults, you don't tend to get that club bias in a single newspaper, which happens obviously in Spain, and it sounds like happens in the Netherlands as well. They're just generally across the board terrible in England. So.
But yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, it's probably a bit different. The Telegraaf has a clear Ajax focus. The Algemeen Dagblad, rather than based newspaper, has a clear Feyenoord focus. And it's not like, I mean, both of the papers have correspondence for the rival teams, to put it like that. And it's not like it's all ill-minded in any way. But it's weird to kind of see how the background of a manager who, by all means, has been probably one of the more entertaining coaches in Dutch football over the last decade. To see him get to take over something so like that is a bit weird.
How do people, because like I said, I've heard a lot of positives about this Ajax side. If they don't win the Europa League, and of course they didn't win the Eredivisie, will there be criticism of the manager for underachieving, or is the general sense that he's in a building cycle and this is going to get better and better?
No, I think it's mainly the latter. When you look at this team and the situation they're in, as you kind of expect from Dutch teams in general, they play 4-3-3. They like to have possession. They like to go forward, and more than the Dutch national team, which isn't that hard at the moment, to be fair. They are maintaining that, they are guarding that kind of Dutch way of play. And I think overall, especially the neutrals, and there are still many neutrals in this country as well. It's not just Ajax and Feyenoord. But I think they've really taken a liking to the football. And you hear quite some fans saying, who are still going to the stadium, so not the ones that are really angry, saying, well, I've enjoyed the football that they play more than I have for years. And I think you kind of need to understand what has happened in a more broad sense as well. They have, before after Ronald Koeman left, they didn't win a title for 7 years, a league title, and that is basically unacceptable at a club like Ajax. Then Frank de Boer came in, who did a really good job of steadying the ship. But even though he's obviously an Ajax legend, he didn't really maintain that kind of football that Ajax fans want to see. It has to be daring, it has to be adventurous, it has to be attacking. Under Frank de Boer was pragmatic, a bit dull, defensively sturdy, and that brought them 4 titles, which at that point was all that they wanted. And you get spoiled when you win a lot of league titles and you won more from your team. That's a place you've obviously been as well, I can imagine. So not having European success, not really playing eye-blinding football, that kind of stuff really started to frustrate fans. And with Peter Bosz, they have kind of returned to the type of football that people will respect and like to watch more than anything. And I think it's quite important to remember that for a lot of people who support Ajax, it's a case of entertainment. It's about it's about the team and the club and the players being good enough for the audience rather than the other way around. So it has an elitist ring to it in a very, very strange way for a club that's renowned for its many fans.
So, of course, the thing that Ajax didn't do this year is win the league. Was that just because they got off to a slow start, as you mentioned earlier, or is it actually to do with the bits that aren't quite ready about this team? Is there even something in that which speaks to a weakness that maybe United could exploit on Wednesday?
It is a combination of both. I think for one thing that you should realize that they've picked up over 80 points. They've only dropped 21 over the whole season. It's been usually it would have been a good enough season to win a title, and it's not only due to Ajax dropping points that they didn't win it. It's basically due to Feyenoord being really good as well. But yeah, when you look at the first few games, they dropped points against silly teams. They played Willem II, who were expected to battle relegation. They lost 2-1 to them. Just not really being sharp enough, not really being clinical enough. They drew against Roda, who are now in the relegation playoffs. And these kind of results are what basically have set them back. And when it comes to their weakness, it's to be fair, they've dropped points against weaker teams more than anything. They've basically been up for it when they had to play the big ones. But I think Manchester United definitely have can spot weaknesses that they can exploit, because Ajax are used to being quite dominant in possession. They're used to have at least some time on the ball, and I think when Manchester United will try and press them, that defense can all of a sudden be quite brittle. As I said, they do like to press. They do like to play highly up, but as soon as they get close to their own goal, a certain panic starts to happen basically in that defense, and that's how they conceded the goals against Schalke and Lyon as well. So it's when the first cracks in the organization start to happen, they can just collapse really quickly. And in that sense, I can imagine that Zlatan Ibrahimovic being out with injuries is an absolute disaster for Manchester United, because he would have been typically the player to just run riot there.
Yeah, I've spent most of the season just assuming Ibrahimovic would score the winner in Stockholm because it was meant to be, but clearly narrative was not working with us on this occasion. So that's their weaknesses. What are their strengths? Who are their best players? What's impressed you most about them this season?
What I think is really impressive, and again, it's also a weakness, but I think it's fantastic when you actually realize it, is that the 3-man midfielder they have with Lasse Schöne, who's Danish international, and who is basically the daddy of the community because he's 30 and no one else is even close to that. He used to be a 10, now he's a holding midfielder. They have Davy Klaassen, who plays slightly in front of him, who used to be a 10 and is now more of a central midfielder. And they have Hakim Ziyech, who used to be just a roaming playmaker, didn't do anything in defense, and now has turned into a playmaker that actually receives or collects possession more often than the other players. So it's really remarkable to have just so many quick thinkers with a good technique in midfield. I think for me, Ziyech is the absolute phenomenon out of the three, because he has just so much ability and is just such a quick thinker. And I'm hoping that he will go on to do more than just stay in Eredivisie, and I'm quite sure he will. Kasper Dolberg is obviously the new wonder kid. At least this month, he's the new Mbappe. Who was the new Rashford? Who was, and so on. But yeah, he definitely deserves to be mentioned as one of those potential world-class strikers, because he's just so incredibly complete, and his awareness is just fantastic. He even does the backhander that Chicharito has scored with for you guys a few seasons ago. He does that regularly, just because he's so aware of where everyone is and where the ball is and stuff like that. It's fantastic to see. But the one thing he still has to work on is just not being roughed up during games. Just not, well, just keep his focus and not try to be intimidated. And I think that will be important for Manchester United to do. Just kick out on him a few times to make sure that he knows he just can't wander about. But and Davinson Sanchez has been fantastic as well. He was already linked to Manchester City last summer and Barcelona as well, and he's done everything to just keep those rumours floating this season, because he's got good pace. He's very comfortable at the ball. Really strong as well, quite fearless, and it's remarkable. I think he's played over 75 games in the last 18 months, and he still just delivers every time he's on the pitch.
Mourinho would soon talk that out of him. Talking of which, actually, one of the things that is a slight concern from a United perspective is our season has really gone off the boil more or less since the League Cup final. We played well against Chelsea, and we played well in the first leg at Vigo. We played decently against Anderlecht to get past them, but basically the season has kind of petered out as the Europa League has been the only thing that United have been concentrating on, which there's a bit of a worry that they've kind of gone off the boil. What's Ajax's kind of end of the season run been like? Are they in good form at the moment? Are they kind of ready to hit the ground running in this one?
Yeah, I think that they are, for once, really aware of the unique nature of the situation, not having been in a European final for 22 years or for 21 years as a club. But I mean, individual players have not been through anything like this anyway, and I think that kind of. They've used that quite positively, just being really eager rather than seeing it as extra pressure. And I think in that sense, it is rewarding for a Dutch club to be in a Europa League final. Whereas I can imagine that from an English perspective, you're like, oh, it's more consolidation rather than anything. So I think that will. In terms of eagerness, will bode well for Ajax, and I think Mourinho he does have a job to do when it comes to firing up his players. The end of season run in general has been a bit. It hasn't been wobbly. I mean, I think that's too negative. But in the Europa League, they did really poorly in the away games. They dropped points against PSV a few days after the Schalke away game as well, and the last game of the season hasn't really been representative, because they've played just even more kids than they already in the rest of the season. So
that's like when Ajax are playing the kids, they're really playing the kids.
I was thinking about it. I mean, when you look at the game against Crystal Palace coming up from Manchester United, and Mourinho saying, "Oh, we'll just blood the kids," and blah blah blah. There's a good chance that average age of the team will still be higher than any of the teams I have fielded this season, and it is fairly ridiculous. I mean, they set a new record for Eredivisie with the youngest lineup ever in the competition's history, and unlike in England, that's not 25 years; that's over 60 years. So that kind of tells you how special it is, and they still won quite comfortably. I think. End of season form is a tough one to judge here, but I do think that almost all of the players are actually in fairly good shape, and they'll obviously be helped by having a longer resting period before the game than Manchester United have in general. Although you can question what resting actually is, because I think there are probably a few players that haven't played for more than a week in Stockholm as well on Manchester United's side. So, but yeah, I mean, their form has been decent enough, and it will just depend on the form of the day a lot for a few players. And I mean, Yunus has been called up to the German national team, and Bertrand Traoré, who's a Chelsea loanee. I mean, these type of players can have a blinder and can be absolutely terrible. It really just differs from game to game.
Okay, last question on that. How do you actually think the game's going to go? If you had to kind of predict the pattern of play in this game, have you seen enough of United to make a prediction of that, or is it a bit like just from an Ajax perspective, you would see what the game might be like?
Well, I have seen enough of Manchester United this season. I think I've seen the Chelsea game, which was really impressive, but I also saw the Celta games. So I have two screens, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I think Manchester United will just be happy to just let Ajax whirl out a bit in the first 10 to 15 minutes, and I think that will be a really important area of play for both, and that. Manchester United won't go and press Ajax, I think. I think they'll be quite reserved and just will play it out like they're the big team and like big club, which they obviously are out of it. And I think Ajax will just try and get the pressure up immediately. Being cheered on by over 20,000 Ajax fans will be a big help for the team as well. And I think Ajax need to get something out of that first 25-30 minutes, because if they won't, I think Manchester United will just at one point just turn on the screws and just make sure that there will only be one winner. But the one thing I'm quite curious about is that when you look at this Manchester United side, and that's been their problem all season. It's like where will the goals come from? I mean, the problem is that, as I said, when Ajax will be pressed at one point, they will probably crack quite easily, and one player of Manchester United will at least be able to score at one point, you would say. But I do think Manchester United shouldn't underestimate Ajax in the sense that, well, they might be brittle at the back, but they're just rampant going forward from time to time, and they have a lot of options as well to bring from the bench. And I think Manchester United will probably win, and it will probably be a very dull 1-0 or 2-1 victory. But I don't think that Manchester United should take this game for granted in any way. I think it will be a very close encounter.
Brilliant. Well, it's been an absolute delight to have an excuse to talk to you, Michiel. And it's nice that we got to do it after Louis van Gaal had left, so we didn't have to have a big row about him.
No, that's not. Well, Memphis is the big one that I'm disappointed about.
Me too.
I've never taken a liking to Van Gaal, to be completely honest, but I do think Memphis is just a magnificent human being. But yeah, I mean, at least we still have Daley Blind, who probably is the only player to have played for both Groningen and Manchester United.
Yes.
So there's my boyhood club link that I'm always looking for.
He's a very divisive figure on this podcast, but I'm firmly #Team Blint. So,
well, at least he's a very likable guy. I mean, he's got that going for him more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. As is I loved Memphis. That hat he wore when that guy said he looked like a Peruvian flute player. I thought it was just a pure fire outfit. So. All right, brilliant. Cheers, Michiel.
Yeah, have a good day, and I hope you'll enjoy Wednesday, but not so much.
All right, thanks a lot. Bye.
Cheers.
A massive thanks to Michiel for coming on the show, and yeah, so I think there's a lot in that conversation. The key takeaway for me, the thing that made the light go on, was this conversation about how vulnerable Ajax are to being pressed, and you just flash into your mind, oh my goodness. Is Mourinho going to see that, and is he going to do what needs to be done? Because the difference between United when they're aggressive and press high up the pitch versus when they sit back in that low block, it's night and day, isn't it?
Oh, and you can almost exactly guess what the pattern of the play is going to be. When United sit back, all the momentum goes to the opposition every single time. Without fail. And it's almost as if someone just presses a button, right? So at Celta Vigo, United were aggressive, were pushing forward. And then at some point they decided that they were going to go defensive. And it's like, click, gone. right? And then all the momentum shifted to the opposite side. And this is what's worrying, because Ajax have some very fine attacking players. Give them the momentum and the ball, and they definitely capable of causing damage. But you look back to the second leg, where Lyon won it by being aggressive. They played Valbuena on the left side of a sort of front three supporting Lacazette, and he was excellent. So was Fekir in that game, both supporting Lacazette. Lyon really pressed. They were almost there, weren't they, in terms of getting through? And I just didn't look particularly good when they were under pressure.
What Mikel said is that the first few minutes of this game are going to be vital, because if United can keep Ajax quiet for the first 20 minutes or so, that's really going to swing the balance in their favour, because this is an Ajax side that does have a kind of brittle quality to its confidence, which we absolutely saw in that semi-final against Lyon, because Lyon were very good and Ajax were very bad, weren't they? That was the kind of combination of circumstances, and so in order, if we assume that Fellaini's going to play, that doesn't necessarily mean United don't press, so long as Fellaini's kind of the deepest of them all, because actually Herrera's brilliant at pressing, obviously, as we know, and Mkhitaryan does that job really well. Do you think that the kind of Armenian Europa League superstar is going to be in that starting 11? I mean, he's played quite a lot in the games that weren't supposed to matter, hasn't he?
Yeah, but I think he is going to be. I mean, I suspect he's going to be Mata and Mkhitaryan.
Okay, and
just Rashford up front.
So
Lingard could come in. I have to say, I mean, I'm not an anti-Lingard. It's not an anti-Lingard rant, but I think that would worry me, just from a how is Jose going to play perspective. If Lingard comes in, tactically very sound, good in the high press, actually, obviously, and loves a final.
We know this,
doesn't he? Yeah. So, it's not a disaster, but I think it would signal that Mourinho's thinking was more about Ajax than United, which of course it is for every game, because that's the way he coaches. He thinks about the opposition strengths, then he thinks about the opposition weaknesses, and then he thinks about United in that order.
I think the one thing that so I think the signal changes whether Lingard replaces Mkhitaryan or Mata. Because I think a Lingard, Rashford, Mkhitaryan front three is not exactly a white flag of surrender, is it? Whereas I think a Mata, Mkhitaryan, Rashford front three is a much more attacking prospect than a Mata, Lingard, Rashford front three. So I almost feel like it kind of depends which player he replaces. The one thing that you think about whether Mata's going to play or not is that'll make a big difference to how much United impose themselves on the opposition. If we're going to have a lot of the ball, we definitely want Juan Mata in the side. But if we're not, then actually having those legs isn't the worst thing in the world. Not that because I think my team in an ideal world would be Herrera, Pogba, Mata, Mkhitaryan, Martial, Rashford. That'd be the team I would pick.
Yeah,
but I think
That's the crazy attacking team. It's not even that crazy, but no, I think that's the front. The front I would go for, the front sort of attacking players I'd go for too, and I think it's fine. United really should be superior to this Ajax side. They came second to Feyenoord, who we spanked earlier in the season. If you want any kind of guidance on that one, I mean, I know Feyenoord beat us in the game in Rotterdam, but still. United should be much superior. Why not go and impose yourself on this team? Take advantage of the fact that this is going to be an Ajax team that averages probably is like 22 or 23 average age, and probably the biggest game of their lives. So most of this team, not all of them, but most of them, go out there, impose yourself on it. Get an early goal, destroy their confidence, and go and win this trophy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or try and play a bit tight, sit back, let a young attacking side have lots of the ball so they can get over their nerves, and go into our shell. So that's the other way of doing it.
One of the things that's interesting is, you said Mourinho thinks about the other team first. Well, in theory, that should be a good thing in this case. If we kind of take it as read that the other team are vulnerable to a high aggressive press, Mourinho might just go, because Mourinho isn't. I mean, okay. He might be kind of low block by default, but we have hardly played the low block all season, have we? That this has very much been something we've done away from home against the top six in the league, and then we did it against Celta Vigo. And we also weirdly did it against Middlesbrough, but that was kind of the exception to the rule in the games against lesser sides than us. We have taken the game to them. Even if you think about the semi-final first leg in Celta Vigo, you mentioned the recency bias. So we think about that tie against Celta Vigo and we think about the last 25 minutes of the second half of the second leg. But in the first half of the first leg, we blew them out of the water and the team wasn't set up defensively. It was set up to impose itself. We created so many chances in that half and really good chances too. So I definitely haven't given up hope of Mourinho setting up this team aggressively, not just from a place of random optimism, but because of some of the stuff he's actually done already this season.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. And I don't really think of this season as being about being defensive. I just think in the big games, he's done that a lot. Actually, when United have played the big teams, he's been very cautious by and large.
But not in the Europa League.
Not in the Europa League, no. And definitely not at home in the Europa League. Of course, we've been drawn away in the Europa League this time. So we'll be playing on our away kit. So maybe that'll have an impact. Shouldn't do, should it?
Yeah, maybe so. Hopefully, you would imagine that these highly trained professionals would not be.
Sadly, they're playing in the blue kit. You'd thought they'd pull out that cracking new black one they've got, which is great, apart from that ugly Chevrolet logo.
Yeah. Real nice kit.
So if you look at, I looked this up actually, if you look at the old Chevy logo, it's black and white. How perfect would that? I mean, they've changed the United badge, so it's now just white. I'm like, but they're not going to change the Chevy logo, that tawdry, ugly. It just makes me think of some kind of trailer park in Southern America somewhere.
The thing is, could not be more off topic, but that badge looks horrible on real cars as well. That badge is just a bad badge. They're
bad cars. Have you ever driven a Chevy?
I've never driven a Chevy.
Yeah, I'm in the States quite a lot, so sometimes I get them from the rental. And not great.
You do see more Chevys in Manchester than in other English cities, though, so it is working. It's a slightly worrying thing. But anyway, this is not what people are here for. People are here for red-hot Europa League final chat. I kind of had this feeling at the end of the second leg of the semi-final, which was that was the story of United not turning up that game. And I just suddenly had this picture of, actually, this team, when it's clicked this season, has been plenty good. There have been plenty of times when they've clicked, and generally speaking, they've been at their worst when they've been kind of tired, run down, caught in a rut of like loads of games, loads of travel, and that's not the case for this game. We've talked a lot about the momentum ebbing away from this side, but the flip side of that is they should have some running in their legs for the first time in a long time. And if that happens, if they can pull it off, if they do, whoever the personnel are, if the team's fundamental approach to this game is to impose themselves on the opposition, there's got to be more than a fighting chance of a decent performance. And I think if we get a decent performance, United win this game.
For sure, because they should be the better team. And you're right. They've most of the players who played against Southampton won't start. Not all, but most won't start. I presume none, bar Pogba, will start against Palace. Why would they?
I wonder if maybe Mkhitaryan as well might start. I think there might be a couple in that game that get half an hour or even an hour.
Yeah. But not too much. Seriously, what is the point?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you take any kind of fine off of the FA, wouldn't you? Not they can. I mean, we've talked about this last week and on Twitter and on WhatsApp. But
they changed the law. They changed the rules. I wasn't crazy. They did used to fine teams for fielding a weakened squad, but then they changed it to say.
But then they realised that they are not managers. Duh.
Yes. Yes, quite.
Hey, by the way, just while we're on swearing, you didn't use my quote I gave you for the what has Mourinho got wrong this season?
So I reached out to a couple of people for a Bleacher Report article. One of the people that I reached out to was Ed. Sent me a solid 8 sentences. Every single one. 11 sentences. Every single one of them had the C word in it. I could not use that quote, Ed. I was unable to use that quote for the purposes for which it was intended.
It's good though.
Yeah, it was extremely descriptive, let's just say. So, will you be screaming the C word in joy or despair? Because I know you'll be screaming it either way. Come the 90th minute in Stockholm.
I'm quite civil at games. You know, there's children watching. Apparently, children listen to this podcast as well.
Right.
That's why we bleep it.
Yeah.
No live bleeping though, is there?
No, there isn't.
I think United will win this one. I have to believe that we're better than Ajax.
You have to believe that because of how much money you spent on flights to go and see it.
Just my God. I mean, it was a choice between my kidney. I mean, you don't need 2, do you?
No.
Or one of my children. I mean, you definitely don't need 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all right. Maybe I can buy them back later. It's like a pawn shop, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just come back, earn a few quid, get the kids back. It'll be fine. Just to be absolutely clear, because people from all sorts of different cultures listen to this programme, Ed hasn't really sold any of his children. I mean, not many of his children anyway.
Not yet.
No.
At least the ones I know of.
What's the score going to be?
Okay, so here's how I think it will play out. If Mourinho sets up the team to be aggressive, go out and attack, I think United are going to win this comfortably, 3-1. We'll take the game to them. They're a good side, so I think they, and we're going to have Jones or Smalling, or Jones and Smalling at the back, so there's definitely a goal in it. But I think United will have enough to impose themselves on Ajax and win the game. If it doesn't happen like that, I think this could well go into extra time. And that's where I get really worried. Because, not only have they played quite a lot, apparently not as much as some other teams have. Mourinho added 4 extra games to his analysis of how many United have played since the turn of the year. Interesting that. He's got a bit of Trump-esque nature to him, hasn't he? In his press conferences.
Yeah. He certainly has.
He'd do well as a politician. Yeah. Since, truth is not necessary these days. So, yeah, if United retreat into their shell, go a bit defensive, I think this could go a very long way, and I kind of worry about it. I worry about it because the legs might go, maybe. Just the momentum will be against United. And do you trust Marouane Fellaini to take a penalty?
No, I don't trust Marouane Fellaini at all in general. And that that situation is the crux of the matter when it comes to how I feel about this tie in general. Like I said earlier, if United turn up, I think we win, and maybe even comfortably. Not that I'm saying, they're miles ahead of Ajax across the broad spectrum of game in, game out, but I think if, then they dent Ajax's confidence, then it could be an okay evening generally. But I can, like you say, you can so easily see United a bit overawed, a bit nervous by the situation. Mourinho hasn't exactly seemed to build that team's belief in itself particularly. That doesn't seem to have been a priority, which it really should be the number one thing he's working on day in, day out. But if they go a goal down, I'm going to be like, that's not going to feel good at all if United go a goal down early in this game. But I think on balance, I'm going to predict a win, mostly just because it would hurt too much not to at this point.
Oh, fingers crossed, hey?
Yeah, so come on, we've got to do it because we do it every time. Score prediction.
3-1 to United.
Okay. 1-0.
To
Man United. Man United. Glory, glory, Man United.
Oh, and who's going to be captain? because Rooney's not going to start. I'm crossing myself
Valencia?
here. I'm not religious, but I'm going to get it just in case.
Yeah, Valencia, I guess, captains that team because he's been at United. Or if Smalling plays, I guess maybe Smalling. No, but Valencia's been there the longest. It'll be Valencia.
They'll get Rooney on, though, to come and lift the trophy. I'm sure it'll be a good buy.
Yeah, that's fine.
He's not going to play against Palace.
No, and he might have played his last game for United. I mean, listen, I know we've had a lot of stick over the years for picking on Wayne Rooney, and I don't mean this nastily, but my goodness, I hope that was his last game. Not that I don't want him to get a great send-off at Palace. That would be lovely. I'd be more than happy for him to play that game. But what we really don't want is him to be knocking about next season, mucking everything up when the squad gets a bit thin.
Yeah. Look, I really hope Rooney enjoys his time in MLS. I think it will suit him well. He is experiencing exponential decline.
Serie A. He should go to Serie A. That's where Rooney should go. But anyway, no one will listen to me about this. Everyone's like, no, send him to MLS. No, MLS is fast and physical. Send him to Serie A where he can stroll about the place eating pasta.
Yeah, it's a bit technical though, and his first touch is just awful.
No, listen, he did a really good first touch against whoever it was we just played, Southampton.
Yeah, but he was trying to pass it. Right?
I tweeted out, Rooney's playing really well here. It was about the 20th minute because he'd done like 3 nice things. Everything he tried after that went wrong. Absolutely everything. But anyway. Just thinking about that game, Fellaini tried a delicate threaded through.
Can we talk about the best moment of that game?
What was
Phil
it?
Jones with a no-look pass.
That was pretty sweet. Sergio Romero had an incredible game.
Yeah, 6 saves, yeah.
Yeah, including a pen, right? Saved a
Yeah,
pen.
very, very strong hands, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. Clearly an adequate replacement for David De Gea. No, come on. Listen, let's not say things we can't take back. All right. Patreon backers, stay tuned because we are going to finish the Q&A that got interrupted in last week's show. Everyone else, I hope you've enjoyed this Europa League preview special. It might be a little while until we do the end of season recap. Producer Tom is going away. I think he said he was back around the 5th. Is that right, Ed?
I think that's right, yeah. Producer Tom is going to the Cannes Film Festival. He's going to come back ruined. I've been to Cannes. It's good fun.
I can imagine you had a good time at Cannes in the mid-2000s, Ed. That seems like a thing you would have done.
Yeah. Tom, if you need, I know some good clubs.
All right, cool. That's enough of that. We know a good club, and that's Manchester United.
Whoa.
Here's hoping that the Reds do the business and come back with the Europa League. I don't know what kind of trophy it is. I can't picture the Europa League. Is it a plate? I don't know.
It's a giant one. Have you seen it? It's about 6 stone.
It's the old UEFA Cup, right? It's the then nice. That's a lovely trophy. So yeah, it'd be good to win that. And we'll round up the whole season. We'll preview the summer. We'll do all that good stuff. And I think I'm going to try and do some interview podcasts during the summer. So there'll still be hot Rankcast content during that time. Thank you massively to Michiel Jongsma for his time earlier today. It was an absolute pleasure to speak to him. Follow him on Twitter at Jongsma. And we will see you in a couple of weeks' time. Come on, you Reds.
Come on, you Reds.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.